NASCAR requires teams to run a restrictor plate 4 times a year. The 2 races here at Talladega and 2 at Daytona. The purpose, keep the cars under 200 miles an hour. Keep the cars out of the grandstand. The complaint, the drivers feel like they're just passengers with no throttle response. It's like you driving on the interstate, putting your foot to the floor on the accelerator, and no matter what you do, the car's not going to go over 40 miles an hour. Today, a rule modification to try and make restrictor plate racing a more appetizing dish. But as Dave discovers, a little more the restrictor plate is not necessarily a great thing. And in the racing scales of justice, there's a hard time balancing horsepower and drag.
Well, you know, back in the 1970s, NASCAR let the teams use all of their available horsepower because the aerodynamic drag was great enough to keep the speeds down. The cars were big and boxy, kind of like BP's 75 Chevrolet here. But as the cars became sleeker, aerodynamic drag was reduced and the speeds went up. So NASCAR issued these carburetor restrictor plates to reduce the horsepower and keep the speeds in check. Now, they've played with the horsepower to drag ratio formula a little bit over the years, and this week there are some changes. The holes in this restrictor plate are bigger this week by 1/32 of an inch, and that will give more horsepower back to the drivers. But NASCAR has also raised the rear spoiler by a ½ inch, which means more drag back on the cars. So the question is, will the racing be better? Well, the speeds are definitely up. Nearly 196 in the draft yesterday. But if you go in the garage and ask if the racing will be better, kind of depends on who you talk to. I just think you're going to like what you see at Talladega, as you always do. Bill?